All right, so today we're going deep on Earl Bostic and
Oh.
the Conn 6M Naked Lady.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We've
Yeah.
got some really cool stuff about both Bostic and the 6M.
It's a fascinating combo for sure. It's not just the history. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why do they still matter?
Huh.
Why are people still talking about them today?
Yeah, that's what we're going to figure out.
Exactly.
So let's start with that Conn 6M. I mean, visually,
Oh, yeah,
right? It's just stunning.
it is.
That Naked Lady engraving.
It's so Art Deco.
Like, hey, look at me.
Right. It grabs you.
Yeah, total attention grabber.
It really shows you something about that era,
Yeah.
Like, instrument makers weren't afraid to be bold.
Yeah,
But, there's more to it than just the looks.
I was going to say.
This was the top of the line for Conn.
Oh,
Their professional saxophone.
oh, wow.
It represents like a golden age of craftsmanship.
They did mess around.
No, they did not.
Yeah, I was reading about the rolled tone holes, the underslung octave key,
All these features.
that stuff.
Yeah, and they weren't just gimmicks either. They were
Right.
designed to make it play better, to give it a unique sound, like
That-
the rolled tone holes.
Okay.
That changes the air resistance, and it makes the 6M have that warm, rich tone. It's subtle, but
Yeah.
it makes a big difference, and that's why people still love that vintage sound.
Wow. It's amazing how these little things can make
Yeah.
such a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's interesting that the 6M,
Yeah.
it kind of went away for a
Yeah,
bit
that did. It declined in popularity.
in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And then it had this, like, huge comeback.
It's a real comeback story.
Yeah, what do you think that happened?
Well, as music changed, newer saxophones came out, and the 6M just wasn't as popular.
Makes sense.
But then vintage instruments became cool again, and suddenly everybody wanted that warm sound. The 6M was back.
It's funny how that happens.
It is.
Okay, so we have this legendary instrument. Let's talk about the man himself,
Earl Bostic.
Earl Bostic.
What a player.
He was obviously a crazy talented sax player,
Oh, yeah.
but he was also
So much more.
so much more.
A true innovator.
Yeah, he was pushing boundaries.
Definitely. And his early career, I mean, look who he played with.
Oh, yeah.
Lionel Hampton, Cab Calloway.
Wow.
These are the giants.
Talk about a pedigree.
You're right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And he didn't just stay in that traditional jazz world.
No, he didn't. He went for R&B.
Yeah, in the late 40s and 50s.
Yeah. Bold move.
That was a big deal then.
It was.
It's almost like he saw where things were going.
He had a vision.
Yeah, and he brought the saxophone to this whole new audience.
Exactly.
I mean, Flamingo,
Huge hit.
Harlem Nocturne.
Everybody knows those songs.
Yeah, even if you don't think you know jazz,
Right.
you probably know those songs.
And they showcased his playing,
Okay.
all his technique, and the way he blended genres.
Okay, so now we have this incredible instrument, this revolutionary musician.
It's gotta be more than a coincidence
It can't be.
that they were such a perfect pairing.
It just can't be. So what was it about the 6M that made Bostic choose it?
Well, that rich, full tone of the 6M,
Okay.
it fit perfectly with his style.
His playing was big.
Oh, yeah.
No, no,
Bold.
bold.
And he was a master of the altissimo register.
Now, for our listeners who might not be as familiar,
Sure.
what is that? What is the altissimo register?
So you know those super high piercing notes on the saxophone?
Okay.
That's altissimo.
Right.
Way above normal range.
Wow.
Takes incredible breath control, and you really need a special kind of saxophone to get it.
Uh-huh.
And the 6M was that saxophone for Bostic.
So they really were made for each other.
There really were.
And even though he played other saxophones,
Yeah.
the 6M is the one we all think of
It's a
when
sound.
we think of him.
That's it.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Earl Bostic was a mentor
To John Coltrane.
to John Coltrane,
Wow.
one of the biggest names in jazz.
Talk about a legacy.
I know, right?
And
Wow.
for those who might not know,
Yeah.
Coltrane basically reinvented the saxophone.
Wow.
He was groundbreaking, and it all started in Bostic's band.
Wow. Imagine being a young musician and having that opportunity.
What a learning experience.
So what do you think Coltrane, like, absorbed from Bostic during that time?
Oh, it had to be more than just notes.
Right.
It was stage presence and discipline, pushing those technical boundaries.
Yeah. Bostic was known for all of that.
Oh, yeah. Complex articulations, rapid runs, and you hear all that in Coltrane later.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And even though they went in different directions musically, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
Bostic was more commercial and Coltrane was more avant-garde.
Right.
But that mentorship, it was obviously so important for Coltrane.
Foundational.
Okay, so I have to tell you this story about Bostic.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently Lou Donaldson.
The alto saxophonist.
Yeah.
Great play.
He saw Bostic just blow everyone away.
At a jam session.
Just a jam session.
No way.
Even Charlie Parker. Bird. Come on.
I know. Are you
kidding?
It's crazy, right?
That's legendary.
So Donaldson said that Bostic basically gave Parker a saxophone lesson.
What?
At this jam session.
Oh, man.
Playing 3 octaves louder, stronger, and faster.
Wow.
I know.
Some people don't believe it,
Yeah.
but it tells you something about how good Bostic was.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's exaggerated for the story,
Of course.
it still means something that Parker was
Yeah.
there and, you know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about the contrast between them.
Oh, yeah. Total contrast.
Bostic was all about precision.
Yeah. Perfect notes.
Parker was the bebop king.
Improvisation.
Yeah. Pushing harmony and just,
Spontaneity.
yeah.
They were both masters.
Yeah. But different approaches.
Totally
Big
different
pieces, yeah.
approaches. So I wonder
What do you think?
what that jam session was like.
I know, right?
Was Parker thrown off by Bostic's precision?
Yeah.
Did Bostic try to match
Yeah.
Parker's improvisation?
I don't know. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
But we can dream.
But it really highlights that question
Yeah.
of, is it about technical mastery or is it about creativity?
Right.
Bostic and Parker represent those two sides.
It's the spectrum of jazz.
Yeah.
And they both push the music forward.
And I think you can hear that tension in Bostic's music.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about playing the right notes.
No.
It's about feeling and
Wow.
energy,
Absolutely.
which brings us to Up There in Orbit.
Oh, yes.
I love the title.
The title alone.
It's so evocative.
It is.
It's like pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
reaching for something new.
Exactly.
And the song itself.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, it really showcases
Everything we've been talking about.
everything we've been talking about.
He does.
So tell me about Up There in Orbit.
Okay, so it's a perfect example of how Bostic blended genres.
Oh, yeah.
It's instrumental, obviously.
Yeah.
It's so energetic, and it brings together jazz, R&B, and even a little bit of novelty.
Wow.
It's got it all.
And the technical skill is insane.
It's amazing.
Those rapid runs,
Yeah.
the articulation.
Oh, there.
And then he hits you with that
Altissimo.
altissimo.
That's high notes.
You know, it's funny. I always think of those old sci-fi movies when I hear that song.
Me too.
With like rockets blasting off.
It's like he's channeling the space age.
Yeah, it's like he's using his music to take us to another world.
Exactly. And there's that joy, too.
Yeah.
It's not just technical, it's fun.
He's having fun.
He is.
And it's not just in the upbeat stuff either.
No.
Even in the ballads.
Yeah,
There's this warmth
there is.
and emotion.
You feel it.
Okay, so we've talked about the Conn 6M, its rise and fall and comeback.
Yeah,
We've talked about Earl Bostic's amazing journey.
he was incredible.
But before we move on, any big takeaways for you so far?
I think the biggest thing for me is legacy.
Okay.
Both the 6M and Bostic,
Yeah.
they left their mark.
Yeah.
The 6M is still so popular today,
Uh-huh.
and you can hear Bostic's influence in so many saxophonists.
I agree. It's amazing how these choices
Yeah.
made decades ago
Yeah,
still affect the music we hear today.
it's true.
And I think we need to spend some time on Bostic's R&B phase,
Oh,
because that's a whole other chapter.
it is.
It was more than just a change in style.
Yeah, it was a reflection of the times.
Exactly. And there was some controversy too.
Oh, yeah. Some people said he was selling out.
But I think there's a bigger story there,
Oh, for sure.
one we need to dig into.
Definitely. I mean, selling out, it's a loaded term, right?
It is. It's way too simple.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
we need to look at the bigger picture. What was happening with music at the time?
It was the rise of R&B.
Right, in the late 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And it was huge.
It was everywhere.
It was a phenomena.
It really was.
And Bostic, he was always ahead of the curve.
Oh.
So he saw this opportunity to reach a wider audience.
To bring the saxophone to new people.
And those songs were catchy.
Oh, yeah.
Flamenco, come on.
You can't deny it.
You
He's
can't.
got that groove.
It does.
But he didn't just dumb down his music either.
No, he didn't.
He brought his jazz background to R&B,
Yeah, you can hear it.
sophisticated harmonies, improvisation, and then those rhythms.
I think that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
He was blurring the lines,
Totally.
showing you could be a virtuoso and still be popular.
Absolutely.
Makes me think about those purists,
Oh, yeah.
the ones who said he was selling out.
They were wrong.
But look at his
It's
impact.
huge.
He paved the way for so many artists who blended jazz with other genres.
You're right.
Funk soul, even hip hop.
It's all connected.
And it reminds us the music doesn't exist in a vacuum.
No, it doesn't.
It's connected to society, to culture, to what people want to hear.
It all matters.
And sometimes those commercial choices can lead to real innovation.
They can.
So it challenges us to think about what selling out even means.
Right.
Is it about artistic evolution?
I think so.
Is it about the artist's intention?
It has to be.
The quality of the music?
That's what matters.
Okay, so we were talking about Bostic pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore that story about him and Charlie Parker.
At Minton's.
At Minton's.
Legendary.
I know, even if we don't have a recording,
Right.
just the idea of it.
Those two in the same room.
It's amazing. And even if Lou Donaldson,
Yeah.
maybe exaggerated a little,
Share the story.
it still says something.
It does.
That Bostic had that level of respect from someone like Parker.
That's huge.
And it also shows that competitive spirit,
Oh, yeah, those jam sessions were intense.
It wasn't just about the music.
Yeah.
It was about proving yourself.
Pushing each other.
So we're back to that question of technique versus improvisation.
Right.
Parker, he was all about spontaneity.
On the fly.
Bostic was meticulous.
Prepared. Two different approaches.
Two sides of the same coin.
They both worked.
I know, it makes you wonder what that jam session sounded like.
I know, right?
Was Parker thrown off by Bostic's precision?
Yeah.
Did Bostic try to match Parker's improvisation?
Who knows?
We'll never know.
But it highlights the different schools of thought.
Yeah.
Parker, the bebop innovator, all about freedom, and Bostic, the master technician, striving for perfection.
And they both pushed jazz forward.
They did?
It's like a musical conversation.
Yeah.
Where each player is responding to the other.
Building on each other's ideas.
And creating something new in the process.
That's jazz.
That's jazz.
It's all about collaboration.
Okay, so let's talk about Coltrane.
Yeah.
He didn't just take a few lessons from Bostic.
Yeah. He was in the band.
He was in the band for years.
Can you imagine?
I know. What an opportunity.
To learn from someone like Bostic.
Yeah. Not just the playing, but the whole thing.
The business, the stage presence.
How to be a band leader.
And even though their styles were different in the end.
Yeah. Coltrane went in a whole other direction.
But you can still hear Bostic in there.
You can.
That technical mastery.
Yeah. Pushing boundaries.
It's amazing to think about.
Lies.
How much that experience shaped Coltrane.
It shows you that even the greats.
Yeah.
They start somewhere.
They have mentors.
And it's not always about following exactly in those footsteps.
Yeah.
It's about taking those lessons.
The foundation.
And using them to create something new.
Something even bigger.
Okay, so you were asking earlier if the Conn 6M might have actually limited Bostic.
In a way.
It's a fascinating question.
It is.
The 6M was his instrument.
It was his sound.
But could that same sound have held him back?
From going further.
From exploring more avant-garde stuff.
The way Coltrane did.
It was like if you give a painter a limited palette.
Yeah, I like that.
They can make beautiful art.
They can.
But what if they had more colors?
More possibilities.
So we'll never know with Bostic.
No.
But it makes you wonder.
It does. Maybe if it played a different saxophone.
Yeah, one that was better for those high notes.
Like Coltrane.
We've gone in a different direction.
Would he have been more experimental?
It's like the instrument itself
Yeah.
was influencing his choices.
And that brings us back to that other question about commercial success.
Do you think Bostic would be as famous today
Hard to
if he hadn't gone commercial?
I think sometimes we see commercial success as a bad thing.
Like it's selling out.
Yeah.
But Bostic showed that you can be both.
A virtuoso and a popular entertainer.
Exactly. He connected with a huge audience.
He did.
And he never compromised his skills.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, he blurred those lines between high art and entertainment.
And he opened doors for other musicians.
Okay, so let's talk about Bostic's legacy. It's not just about jazz and R&B.
No. He influenced so much more.
His technique, the altissimo register.
The experimentation.
It all had a ripple effect.
You can hear it in other genres.
He expanded what the saxophone could do.
Yeah.
It wasn't just for jazz anymore.
Think about those rock solos.
Yeah.
The funk grooves, the soul ballads.
It's all connected.
It all goes back to Bostic in a way.
It's amazing to think about.
It is.
How much he inspired other musicians.
To try new things.
To see the saxophone in a new light.
It's the power of innovation.
One person can change everything.
They can.
Okay, so before we wrap up,
Yeah.
there's one more thing I keep thinking about.
What's that?
That joy.
Oh, yeah.
The energy in Bostic's music.
You can't miss it.
It's not just about hitting the right notes.
It's about feeling.
It's about fun.
Pure joy.
And that's what makes it so timeless.
It is.
It makes you want to move.
To dance.
To smile.
To just enjoy the music.
It's infectious.
It is.
And it's not just the upbeat stuff.
No, even in the ballads.
There's this warmth.
Yeah, a depth of emotion.
He could express so much through his playing.
It's incredible.
Excitement, tenderness, vulnerability.
It's all there.
It's a good reminder that music is about connecting with our emotions.
At its core.
Expressing what it means to be human.
And Bostic did that so well. It's interesting, we've talked so much about Bostic.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about that 6M.
It's true. It was more than just an instrument for him.
She was like his partner.
His partner, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
They went through it all together.
I was just thinking of the 6M story.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the story of jazz itself.
How so?
Well, it was there for that golden age,
With the big bands.
Yeah, swing all that. Then it kind of faded away.
Like jazz?
Exactly. And then, bam, come back.
The vintage revival.
Vintage revival.
It's amazing.
But with the 6M, it's not just nostalgia.
No.
It's about that craftsmanship.
Yeah.
The quality.
That sound.
That sound.
It's special.
And you can hear it in Bostic's music.
Oh, yeah.
That rich, warm tone.
Powerful.
That power.
It's all the 6M.
It's like the instrument had its own voice.
It did.
Its own personality.
And Bostic brought it out.
Yeah, they worked together.
A real partnership.
And that's what I love about these deep dives.
Me too.
It's not just the pieces.
No.
It's how it all fits
An
together.
artist, the instrument.
The music.
History.
And it makes you appreciate these instruments that maybe aren't as famous.
Like a Stradivarius.
Right. But they're just as important.
Maybe even more so.
The 6M is definitely one of those.
For sure.
And its legacy lives on.
In the music.
In the music, exactly.
So before we wrap up,
yeah,
I have one more question.
Okay, shoot.
We talked about all the ways Bostic pushed boundaries.
Yeah, his technique, his style.
But what about his influence beyond jazz and R&B?
Oh, that's a good one.
How did he affect the saxophone in popular music as a whole?
I think he planted a seed.
A seed.
Yeah, that grew into all these other sax players.
Different genres.
Yeah, rock, funk, soul, even pop.
You really think so?
I do. I think you can hear it.
I never thought about it that way.
Think about those big sax solos in rock songs.
Okay, yeah.
The funky grooves in soul music.
Uh-huh.
Those smooth melodies in pop.
You might be right.
Bostic showed everyone that the saxophone could be more.
He wasn't just for jazz anymore.
Exactly.
He opened up a whole world of possibilities.
It's amazing how one person can have that kind of impact.
It's a ripple effect.
And it's not always obvious.
Sometimes it takes a deep dive.
To see those connections.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it.
I agree.
To our listener.
Yeah.
Keep exploring Bostic's music.
Listen closely.
Yeah, pay attention to those details.
The brilliance, the influence.
And think about how he changed the saxophone.
How he inspired other musicians.
It's a fascinating story.
It really is.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Earl Bostic and the Conn 6M. We'll be back soon with another fascinating story from the world of music. Until then, keep those ears open and those minds curious.